What is up, all you cannabis aficionados? On today's episode of...
What the fuck?
Tell him to shut the fuck
On
up.
today's...
Shouldn't he shut the fuck up?
He should shut the fuck up.
On today's episode of
He
Connecting
just taught him how
Cannabis...
to shut the fuck up. He said he watched the videos.
I
I don't think you think he's a liar. He didn't watch the video.
I'm joined by the one and only Pop Brothers at Law.
Shut the fuck up. Okay.
What is up, all you cannabis aficionados? On today's episode of Connecting Cannabis, I am joined by the one and only Pop Brothers at Law. For those of you who might have been a little too stoned to notice, Pop Brothers at Law have turned into the biggest viral cannabis sensation since Abrahamian's Because I Got High. Almost overnight, their video telling cannabis consumers to just shut the fuck up if stopped by a cop garnered tens of millions of views and catapulted them to nearly 500,000 Instagram followers. Post going viral, they are still here today, holding it down for the cannabis community and representing clients from all walks of life. So without any further ado, hey guys.
How you
What's
doing?
up? Good morning.
Good morning. Did I miss anything?
Not at all.
Well, thank you both for joining me here today.
Our pleasure.
Although it is a bit more like 300 to 400 million views.
This one?
No, the one that went viral.
No way.
Across all social media platforms. I actually stopped keeping track at about almost 300 million. I couldn't keep up with it because it's all over the place just spread out by so many different big influencers, other big pages, celebrities, and stuff like that. So it went crazy.
You're right. I mean, you guys did. Instagram was one thing, and then YouTube and Twitter and Facebook,
LinkedIn.
My little brother even saw you guys on World Star.
Yeah.
He's like, you know those guys? I'm like, yeah, I know those guys. Like they're on World Star now.
Sports, never heard of them.
Really?
Yeah,
They put us
Barstool
up.
Sports, and there's a ton of them. A ton of these platforms that have millions of followers that we'd never even heard of. Hey, I saw you on this. I saw you on that.
That's great. And that's such like an interesting twist because you guys could be lawyers, right? Or you could be lawyers with a viral video, and it's just like a whole,
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
Yeah.
Unique.
So what did I miss anything as far as your role in the cannabis industry today? Can you guys kind of explain? You're lawyers, but a little bit more in detail. What does that entail?
Well, our practice offers pretty much everything there is to deal with in the cannabis world of business, starting with getting arrested. So I've been doing criminal defense for 23 years. My brother's been doing civil and business litigation and corporate counseling for 30 some odd years. And so together between business and criminal defense, this whole industry is affected by both of those areas of law. So we handle it all from licensing, permitting, and all that kind of stuff to criminal defense because people with licenses are still getting arrested.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming, you guys weren't always cannabis attorneys, right? So how and when did that transition happen into the cannabis industry? I always love to ask people that question.
Well, so for us, personally, I became an attorney in 1996. And right out of the gate, I did criminal defense. And 1996 is when Prop 215 passed here in California, giving cannabis patients their rights. And so cannabis patients with their recommendations were getting arrested. And you had to go to court and prove that all that stuff. So I've been dealing with those cases since the beginning and criminal defense. But when we really started focusing was when my brother's son, my nephew, 10 years ago or so?
I lose track.
10 to 15 years ago, showed a tremendous interest in cannabis and its healing properties and helping people and what it did for people and what pills were doing to people versus that, and wanted to do this. And at the time, doing that in California, you had to be it went through many different phases, having your caregiver deal and then a collective, cooperative, and all that kind of stuff. So as the laws started to evolve, we made sure he was operating properly, whether it was with a not-for-profit organization or whatever it was, so that if arrested, back then they were all felonies, we had a defense. And over the years, over like a 10-year span, he picked up 7 different felonies doing this. And because he shut the fuck up, because he was doing everything we told him to do, we were able to get the cases dismissed and get everything back. So that's really what caused us to become really proficient. And we never advertised. We took care of him, other people in the industry who knew
30
him.
years, basically word of mouth until Instagram.
Until my brother's son, he was bugging us for a couple years. You got to get on Instagram. You got to get on Instagram. We're like, what?
At that point, I'm phasing out of Facebook and going, 15-second videos? What is this thing?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't even know what it was until January 22nd, 2015. His son comes barreling into the office that morning and goes, hey, I need you guys to do an interview with some friends of mine. They're looking for attorneys who will go on camera and smoke and talk about the laws. And as they're changing here, because Prop 64 was just in the works, 2015 coming into 2016. And I said, okay, let's go. He wasn't so quick to jump, worried that who's going to see us smoking, what's the state bar going to say.
You're the guy with the joint in the video. So,
Hey, if you're going to go all in, you go all in.
It was a process.
Right? Go big or go home.
yeah.
And
I feel that.
we discussed it, and we were like, we're going to a private facility. It turned out to be Be Real TV,
Okay.
Be Real's studio, getting high on Adam.
Getting high
with.
It was actually just getting high with.
Oh, that's right. Getting high with.
Hosted by Adam.
Adam Hill. And so, okay, you know what? We'll do it. When is it? Tonight. I need you to go tonight. So it was that night. So we went up there, did this interview, smoked, dabbed, answered questions. They had people calling in. It was pretty amazing, the response and the constant flow of calls that were coming in. And then after that, we took some pictures with Adam Hill, Be Real, and took our little joke of the Pop Brothers at Law we made up about 8-9 years before, sitting in the parking lot like we do, smoking, going, hey, we're brothers, we smoke pot. I was getting a lot of pot cases back then too. I'm going to make Pop Brothers at Law cards and give them to clients. So he created the Pop Brothers at Law Instagram right then and there. And then that's when we're like, what are we going to do with 15-second videos? And we were looking at other Instagram accounts. I mean, they're tits and joints and, just nothing really educational about cannabis or anything in there, or your rights. And so that's when we decided we'll try to do some 15-second tips, starting with how to actually get pulled over. We did 7 or 8 a series of them, videos showing this is how you get pulled over. And then it just kind of grew from there, and we started to, a good year.
15-second tip. I can't believe what we used to get in 15 seconds.
Well, it was me talking real fast.
If you go back to the very bottom, and then if you go to the very bottom and the first couple 15-second tips, and then you scroll up to when right before it went to a minute, it's like slow motion down here, and then up here it's like what we got in 15 seconds was nuts.
And then they turned to a minute, and it was like, okay,
we can get more info in.
We can do that.
So that's kind of the evolution.
Got it. I always love when you can mix in something fun into it, right? It's like you can make 15-second video clips all day. Yeah. You're only gonna reach a certain amount of people if it's just a regular lawyer saying regular boring lawyer stuff. But once you say, shut the fuck up or whatever,
and we're smoking. We're still to this day we're being told, and I don't see anybody else, any other lawyers anywhere in the world on social media coming out and showing, hey, this is how we medicate. This is what we choose to do, and we're professionals and we get shit done.
I heard from my team you guys even trademarked "Shut the fuck up."
Yes, we have.
How the fuck? How do you do that?
Good IP
trademark attorney.
Dave Bramfman. Yes. When it all started,
we're using it for legal services. That's how we got it trademarked, only in relation to.
Because you have to use it in commerce.
Right.
Is that what it is?
And we have. We have T-shirts and hats, and we've been using it for years on our Instagram and on other forms of our website, and it's actually trademarked for the legal industry. So when you every time I hear on TV, someone says "shut the fuck up," I'm like, "Damn, I should get a quarter for this."
10 cents.
But no, it only relates to the legal industry.
Okay.
And we have that hashtag STFU, STFU Nation, Shut the Fuck Up Friday, our script that's copyrighted, and our jingle from Shut the Fuck Up Friday is copyrighted as well. So,
man.
I mean,
when you're a lawyer, just go all guns blazing on that type of stuff.
Well, in the beginning when it first started going, we were like, maybe we should protect this stuff because we didn't know what was going to happen in the very beginning. It just seemed like, wow, this is kind of crazy, and then so we decided, spend a few bucks and do that just in case something goes really viral, which is ultimately what happened. We got that push into the stratosphere.
And when did you guys realize that it went viral? How was that?
Well, that's
transition?
a good story. So.
He tells most of those because I barely pay attention.
Yeah, I do the social media stuff.
No, I love the big brother, little brother thing you got going on over here. It's like
I know when to shut up. But no, so from 2015 to 2008 to 2015 to December 25th, 2018, we had amassed about 120,000 followers.
Okay.
Which was very good
Right.
in relation to how I was seeing
Organic,
other
it was
growth.
all
and
organic growth.
We didn't buy any, or they have
wow.
all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just completely organic.
And this is with regular 15-second clips.
Correct. Well,
Okay.
at some point there, it did go to a minute. I think somewhere in between there.
But this was before Shut the Fuck Up campaign.
No. This is all
during, okay.
all during it.
Okay,
This is all
okay.
during, because we probably got that really going within like 2 or 3 months. I'd have to really go back and look, but something like that where we really, and because we were honing in on these 25 words. First it was like 50 words, then 30, and we were just playing with it until we finally got to that. And so we had been doing that for 3 years already, and I had us on all social media platforms, just with Pop Brothers at Law, Twitter, Facebook, all of them, but didn't really push or stay active on all those, other than Instagram was kind of like the mother lode, because that's where cannabis industry kind of is living and breathing
for sure, yeah.
on Instagram. And so I had those other accounts, but didn't really keep them active, or whatever I posted on Instagram went over there. So every week or two, I'll get a little ding notification on my phone for my Facebook page for Pop Brothers at Law that had like 400 followers or something like that. Oh, somebody asked a question, somebody followed, whatever. December 25th, I'm on vacation. I'm sitting there, and it was like, I don't know, 6, 7 in the morning, and my phone, ding, 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 it just starts going crazy with these notifications. Ding, 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 ding. I'm like, what the hell? I thought my phone was broken. I'm looking at it, and all these just notifications from Facebook are coming in. And so I look, and I figure out that Shut the Fuck Up Friday video we had just done, like a week before that, where we talk about a raid that happened at an illegal shop. 3 of the people who worked there, 2 of them told the cops, we're volunteers. One of them shut the fuck up because he follows us. His case got dismissed. The other 2 didn't. And so we told that story, and a Facebook page called Respect My Region reposted it. And I'd never heard of them, but it was a big Facebook page, political page, or what have you. And then that got reposted by Roger Stone. You know who Roger Stone is?
I don't
Roger
know.
Stone, big political strategist who he got Nixon and
Conservative,
Bush.
they
And
say he's a nasty guy.
got Trump
got it,
elected.
Got it.
They
He
got- HBO
he
did it.
actually just got indicted. It's been
Okay.
very quiet since then, but he was going out in the media. The judge put a gag order on
They
him.
raided his place in Miami.
With
the guns.
He got hit hard, and so he finally and we had actually interviewed him as part of our Cannabis Talk 101 show at a cannabis convention a year or so earlier.
Yeah.
And he was all pro-cannabis, a right-wing Republican, pro-cannabis,
Interesting.
states' rights. And so he posts, all he said was, "These should be my attorneys," and reposted that video.
That video then, over like 3 days, got 5 million views.
Nice.
Then it gets, and that's on Facebook, right? So we went from 400 to, now we have like almost 80,000 on Facebook, right? And then it get Twitter, and you got people like P. Diddy and D.L. Hughley and Snoop Dogg put it on his story, and just on and on and on.
Yeah.
It got reposted all over the place. Cypress Hill reposted it, and that alone on their Facebook page, like 40 million views or something like that. And then all these other platforms started picking it up, and just boom, super viral.
That's very cool. And I mean, you guys started, when you guys started, what type of clients were you representing? So your son, and then many others like him that were more on the business end of things or more on the consumer end of things?
No, it's
Both.
not
for
really.
criminal
I mean,
defense.
consumer being, there was no consumer end.
Okay.
It was either you were a criminal, or you got charged with criminal activity, or you were trying to do it right, and we would help them set up as a business, and then represent them if they got hit for criminal activity, to defend it, saying how we told you to set up was right, and get the case dismissed.
Got it.
Back then, when it was under the not-for-profit scheme and cooperatives and collectives, I was able to tell clients, this is how you're going to go commit the felonies of cultivation and possession and sale. This is how you're going to do it. And if you do it this way and you get arrested and hit with those charges, and you've done what we said, we're going to be able to get the case dismissed. Which we did. Every time they came back and they did everything we told them to do, which not a lot of clients don't do everything, and then you're cutting deals at that point.
And how did that transition into the now legal industry? What do your clients look like today?
It's quite sad. Some of it's quite sad because a lot of the clients that we had, little mom and pop operations, making edibles out of their house, with their cooperative, they can't afford to get in, and the way it's now set up, which, regulations needed, it's here, but with having to own or lease property just to be able to get a city permit to then get a state license, it cuts a lot of people out.
Well, you got to remember too, let's talk about just retail. I read today, less than 20% of
482 cities.
482 cities in the state of California. 20% allow retail shops.
Wow. I remember I heard 30, but is that more of like a encompassing?
I think so.
30 is more
because
like-
it's a third offer, less than a third offer the whole string.
Right.
Most cities that offer non-retail.
Yeah.
That's easier.
That makes a lot of sense because I remember when I heard the third, I'm like, are you sure? I feel like it's a lot less than a third because there's only...
Well, for stores, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what we deal with on our end, so that's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely, regulations have killed the small guy. People who come into us previously, 10, 20 grand, get set up as a cooperative, collective, be safe.
And have us for a year on retainer.
And now people come in and it's like, do you have a couple $100,000 to get into the cannabis space with the regulations, the licensing fees, permit fees, just everything. It's way over-regulated as far as I'm concerned. The government needs to look at themselves in the mirror when they say who's the cause of the black market or the illicit market. Who's the cause of the illicit market? They want to blame everybody else on the illicit market other than themselves by not allowing cannabis business. I thought the way it should have been was like adult businesses. A city cannot ban them, but they have to be in a certain area. So why not treat that the same? But the trade-off that the government gave to people who didn't want to pass 64 and all this, the trade-off was, in the language of 64, it allows cities to ban it if they choose. And so many cities decided to ban it and see what happens.
Well, remember in the beginning when that happened, the cities thought if they didn't ban it, they were going to have to do what the state said. Because the way they wrote the regulations,
which was true. Which was true. If a city did not have an ordinance, it reverts back to the state law. So what cities did in order to prevent that, and that's what caused, because we had clients operating in cities for years that didn't have any regulation, no ordinance. It was like a gray area. If they had a cooperative, there was no law. Again, there was no zoning. There was nothing like that. So as soon as all that hit, it caused people to not to be able to get property.
Right.
Yeah,
I love this. You're preaching to the choir. Keep it going.
Right.
Keep it going.
Well, and we get all types in here. We get the small guy. We get big corporate guys, and we get the housewives from Coda, wherever they're coming. Think I got money and I want to do this, and then it's like for those people, it's like, are you ready to get arrested?
Well, that was more back in the day.
That
was more back in the day when it was a felony first, defense second. Now, if you have your proper licensing, permitting, you're wearing your badges, you're most likely not going to get arrested, but we still have people who have licenses that are getting arrested because they didn't do something right, and they're still getting arrested.
And it should be administratively held by the Bureau.
And it's not legal. Everybody says it's legal.
It's not
under
legal.
An ounce and under 8 grams of wax is legal. That's it. There's still marijuana crimes on the books, and people are getting arrested every day for misdemeanors and some felonies now.
Still.
So on the business end of things, went from kind of small mom and pop shops, but we're seeing it's not so much possible anymore, right?
It's partnerships, it's equity funds, it's
people getting together.
It's corporate. We have represent the little guy where the corporation wants to come in and buy into what they've been doing already. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where it's at.
So, we're seeing that before it was the mom and pops had the chance to compete, and unfortunately now it's like, the larger businesses, and that's the transition that's kind of taken place on the business end of things. But on the consumer end of things, I've myself as a consumer have seen, the transition take place for my buying experience, right? Before it was like a really sketchy shop, and they make you feel like a criminal that you're, what you're doing and what you're purchasing, and they're opening up this little window, and they're asking you for the password. And now it's an Apple store.
You think that's bad though? Imagine being my age, where I had to go in a dark alley, in a place way back in the middle of a park, and God knows what time of the night, to score my dime bag of weed.
And you're probably already high, so you're more paranoid than.
You just put your hand in.
No, I think we never know. You know what? I'm 57 and doing this since I was 16.
Right.
And some places where if I look back now, go, what was I thinking?
Right.
We didn't think, we just did, and they sold you the weed, you bought it, and that was that.
So,
but
as far as
now
like
to go into a store is just insane that
Right.
you're able to go into a legal store and purchase it legally without looking over your back or worry about getting raided.
So, but as far as like the actual legal aspect of it, so now obviously consumers are in the clear as long as you're over 21 or over 18 with a medical card.
And you have less than 28 grams or less than 8 grams of wax.
Right.
And they just got to make sure you're going into legal licensed shops. Because
Right.
if you're in an illegal one and that raid hits, you potentially are getting arrested and charged.
Okay. So we're actually going to do an Instagram speed round. I reached out to my followers. I asked them, what questions would you want to ask a cannabis attorney? So you guys mind if we go through
go.
these really quick?
Let's do it.
First question: can you fly with cannabis within California?
No, it's illegal.
Really?
I thought we're speeding. No?
Whoa!
on,
what
keep
else?
going.
You want an
because
explanation?
I
Go back.
thought-
You want the
I thought
explanation?
I knew the answer to this. I thought it was okay, so I'm caught off guard now.
No, what's okay is LAX has said they don't care if you have an ounce or less, they're not going to fuck with you. That's all that's okay.
Okay.
With
It's
LAX.
federally illegal. You can land on the other side. You can get arrested on the other side, even if it's in California, and especially if it's outside of California. So they don't put that, no, LAX just, they're not looking for weed. You know, if something goes through a metal detector and it's got, 84 cartridges or,
getting
8
arrested.
pounds of weed in your
Felony.
bags, that's something bad's going to happen. But if they open up your bag and you have 8 joints and a couple pre-rolls and some edibles, they're probably not going to do anything. But it's still technically illegal.
Okay.
No matter if they do anything or not, it's still illegal federally.
So you do it at your own risk.
Okay.
Once you step on the grounds of the airport, it's federal.
Understood. Can I smoke on the sidewalk?
Depends. Go ahead.
So-
If as a adult use user, you cannot. You basically have to be hidden from public if you're going to smoke.
In the room, in the dark, under your covers.
Pretty much in your backyard.
In a private place.
Right. It's got to be in a private place.
But if you have a physician's recommendation, then there become 5 places that you cannot smoke. Everywhere else is okay. And those 5 places are in a no smoking zone, within 1,000 feet of a school or youth facility, unless you're in a private residence, in a motor vehicle that's operating, while operating a boat, and on a school bus. Those 5 places you can't.
So if you have your rec and you're in a smoking area, you can legally smoke. Now, a private owner of that area can say no. So if you don't have that going on, then you could legally.
And some cities are entirely no
Right.
smoking zone cities, the whole city.
So you
like
couldn't
Manhattan
smoke.
Beach, for
Oh, wow.
instance. And Laguna, I think, does that too. But you want to know where, if you're going to do something like that, just Google it
Okay.
wherever you're at.
All right. Next question. Can I order cannabis to a hotel room?
No.
Whoa.
No. So you can't deliver to a hotel room. It's in the regs.
Oh, the licensed ones. Gotcha.
Yeah, a licensed delivery service cannot deliver to a hotel.
Okay. So
The illegal one, they
Right,
do.
they'll deliver anywhere you want.
right.
It's not a licensed
We
one.
don't recommend ordering for someone who's going to deliver to a hotel.
Okay. But so where are you supposed to smoke as a tourist? What's left for
Someone's house that you know. You could go to what's in Hollywood.
You could risk the ticket, smoke in your room, use spray 420.
Rainbow Bar and Grill allows it on their patio in Hollywood. Some places will allow you. There's what's Dougie's place? The
Hitman.
Coffee.
Yeah.
They have a flower garden area in the back where they let you do it. So you got to find but otherwise you're
It's a conundrum.
screwed.
It's stupid. That's why they're
The
allowing
West Hollywood Cannabis Cafe is opening up soon. So that's a place where they're going to allow like a consumption lounge.
Right.
Hopefully we'll see more of those as time goes on.
Gotcha. Okay. Next. Can I get a cannabis DUI?
Yes.
Absolutely.
How does that work?
You fuck yourself most likely. No, seriously. And what I mean is, if you're too high and you're driving, swerving and fucked up, then you should go to jail. And the cop should observe you swerving and going maybe 20 and a 60. You know, he's going to observe these things to see that you're impaired. Okay? 99% of the time, you're not impaired by the weed. Okay? You might be high, but you're not impaired. So when he pulls you over for a traffic violation, such as a blinker, red light, whatever the traffic violation is, and he comes up and he smells it because you just smoked in your car 10 minutes ago, and he asks you questions, when did you last smoke? Every one of our DUI cases is because the guy said, I smoked an hour ago, sir. Some have said, I smoked 12 hours ago. I smoked last night, now I'm going to work. They're getting a DUI.
Period.
Period.
And it's going to be harder to fight because people in a jury box, depending on where you're at, oh, well, he must be high. He shouldn't be driving if he's had a joint.
See, instead of, when he comes up to the door, and he either tells you why he pulled you over, or if he doesn't, that's where the script comes in. Why'd you pull me over? Your blinker was off. You didn't blink. You didn't whatever. You got tail light out. Okay.
All right. Can we practice this?
Sure.
You be the cop. I'll be the
Sure.
I'll be the consumer.
Sure.
All right.
Sure. So we pull you over. I walk up to the door, and a lot of times they'll say, I mean, I should really stand up and get right up in your face because we have previously, and even now we teach delivery drivers how to handle stops by law enforcement. And I usually get up and try to intimidate them as much as I can.
Okay.
Because that's what you are up against when an officer comes up to your window and he's 6'3", 4", he's got his bulletproof vest on, they're huge, and they're just intimidating. And they ask you, or you ask them, if I pull you over, hey, you know why I pulled you over? That's a lot of times what they say.
No, sir.
And what do you say? First thing you say, no, why'd you pull me over?
Okay. No, why did you pull me
The
over?
important reason for that is that really starts the clock ticking. Under Supreme Court law, they have 7 to 8 minutes to write a traffic ticket or find other independent probable cause to further detain and continue with an investigation.
Gotcha.
So if they say I pulled you over and hopefully it's all mic'd up, and they can, you didn't have your blinker on. Okay. What's that? Is that weed I smell?
So is that probable cause?
Is that weed? Are we practicing?
Oh, we are. Okay. All right.
You're
sorry.
asking the cop, is
I
that
need to be.
probable
I need
cause?
to be in question mode in this mode.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm teasing.
Okay? So I rolled down the window. Puff cloud of smoke came out my window.
No, then you're pretty fucked.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Never mind. No
Yeah,
puff cloud of
we don't
smoke.
No puff cloud of smoke.
Okay.
You're not smoking while you're driving, and even if you were, you're not hotboxing as you're driving.
Right.
So we know people who smoke and drive all the time. As long as you don't have a lit joint in your hand.
Maybe you swallowed it.
Right.
Okay, or maybe it's in the ashtray, which still isn't good. Okay, but if it's out, they'll be, well, I saw a burnt half roach of cannabis in his thing. Okay, so what? It's legal. It's legal to have that sitting right there.
Well, no, it's not. That's open container.
Oh, that's right.
That's
They
not
changed
legal
that.
anymore.
That's a ticket.
That's
Okay.
a ticket.
Open container.
And
Open container is a ticket. So if,
probable cause to go start searching and doing more because now that's crime that occurred and now they can go search.
Yeah, we don't recommend it being in plain sight.
Okay. So
the trunk.
granted, there's none of that.
Okay.
I go. I don't know what that is, officer.
No.
No.
Yeah, you're lying. Okay.
Oh, man.
No,
No
we're supposed
lying?
to lie. No,
Okay,
we teach
okay.
people not to lie.
Okay.
That's why the second line of our script was the easiest way that we came up with to politely say to the cop, I'm not discussing my day.
Okay.
You can't tell me if you smoked an hour ago or now. You can't really tell me that. Come on, just let me know.
Don't worry, I don't care about a little weed.
We'll go on our way. Well, I don't care if you just smoked a little bit.
I'm not
Right?
discussing my
I'm
day.
not discussing my day. No matter how many times, and they will. I went through it. They will ask you 10 times. And I finally had to do it. And the 10th time I said, am I being detained or am I free to go? You're being detained. Get out of the car.
Ooh.
So we do what we do.
Well, so what gives them the right to detain you?
He smelled alcohol. In my case, he said he smelled alcohol.
Okay.
They saw me pull out of a bar.
Okay.
They pulled me over because my lights weren't on because valet turned off my auto lights on my truck. Because I said, why'd you pull me over? Your lights are off. And I go, oh, valet, and I put them back on. Oh, they turned off my auto lights. So, where are you coming from? Well, I go, and I actually said, you saw where I came out of. Yeah. Literally, I came out and I got lit up. I'm going, what did I fucking do?
Yeah.
You came out of a bar.
And so they put in, so how many drinks did you have tonight? And I'm like, shit, am I going to do this?
You
And it
can put
was.
to the
I
test,
described
yeah.
that guy standing there and I'm
Yeah.
not discussing my evening. You can't tell me if you had 1 or 2 drinks? Not discussing my evening, sir. And that's when I finally said, after maybe 1 or 2 more questions about, you can't tell me if you had 1 or 2 or whatever. And I didn't want to lie to him because I had drinks. I said, am I being detained or am I free to go? Sure enough, you're being detained. I'm like going, oh shit. This is it. I'm going in. First time in 50-something years, I'm going to go in. I might have been 07, 08, who knows, right? But I had full dinner, drinks, waters. I certainly wasn't impaired. Gets me out of the car. We teach this. Get out of the car, roll up your window, lock your door, take your keys, put them in your pocket. That way they can't go in your car. Walked over to the side. They wanted me to do a field sobriety test. In California, I said, sir, I'm not doing those. Politely decline. Other partner comes up. He starts kind of yelling at me. You can't help us. Cooperate it. I didn't say this, but cooperation is, I got out of the car. I listened to them. I walked on the curb. Doing the field sobriety test, not doing them is not cooperating. It's
exercising your right
not to do it. Exercising your right not to, because no matter who you are, you're going to fail it.
Right.
You're going to fail it, and they're going to have a good reason to bring you in then. You might beat it later, because he has no evidence of impairment. He never saw you drive impaired. So it does work.
It's like a cop's worst nightmare, pulling over an attorney. I feel like it's like, oh wow, this guy actually knows his rights.
And then after he was detained, he said,
right, I stood there. They tried to get me to do the field sobriety test. And I said at some other point in time, I said, am I being detained or am I free to go? You're free to go here. Get out of here. They weren't happy.
I love it.
They weren't happy. But, if I was that drunk to where I was swerving, they should have pulled me over, yanked me out, and put me in jail.
Right.
Yeah.
So transitioning that into the delivery aspect side of things, I definitely don't, want to forget on touching on that. You trained delivery drivers.
Yes.
Right. So this is illicit market or now?
No, that was
both?
back in the unregulated market.
Okay. Unregulated
try to preventing the arrest that we have to now go in and defend, which we could defend it, but we're trying to stop it, in the beginning.
Okay.
So it doesn't go any further.
Okay. So
minimizing exposure to what's going on. Simple things like making sure your car, all the lights are working. We tell our clients, before you go do any delivery and you have product in your car in the trunk, make sure all the blinkers are working. Do a walk around. Even if you just did it, do it again. Make sure the big one now is the illuminating light under your over your license plate in the back being out.
Right.
We see a lot of getting that.
Yeah.
And cops are looking to pull. First, they're looking for a reason to pull you over,
and they're looking for a reason to go further.
Get in your car.
That's just a fact.
And that's great. We started doing little tutorials on our Instagram using clips of Live PD. If you ever watch Live PD, it's just exactly what not to do. And they have this one, the one cop, I think he goes by Sticks or something like that. And he said what I just said. We're looking to pull you over, and then we're going to try to find a way in your car. And that just goes to our point. They're not looking to get a ticket.
And we actually find that we actually have gotten DMs from police around the country thanking us for to make them safe. Yep. Like if someone knows their rights, they're going to go on to the next guy. 90% chance they're going to go to the next guy who's not going to do that, and they're going to have their easy way with them. So why mess with the guy who knows their rights? And there's nothing they can do.
So do the delivery drivers, even in today's licensed market, if they're working for a licensed delivery service, do they still have to worry about being pulled over?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, if they're not in strict compliance, they're going to get arrested for sales. They could potentially defend it going, I didn't have my badge, but here's the manifest. I didn't have it on me, but here's the manifest. Here's all the proof. Here's the track and trace. Here's the order invoice where I was going. Here's the GPS. Here's all the stuff. You could defend it, but it still could happen if you're not in full compliance.
Okay. And if they get pulled over by a cop, what are they supposed to say, or what are they supposed to show this
Actually,
cop?
They're supposed to show them their credentials under the regulations. Unfortunately, if you're licensed, you have to disclose it to law enforcement.
But that would be the only exception.
Correct.
To the script. That's all you would do. And that's all you would do. You really wouldn't even say anything. Just, here's the badge, all the documentation, ledger.
Got it. So step one, they need to let them know that they're operating under a licensed delivery service.
And if they are, they should have a folder right next to them in the passenger seat, just in case, and they're ready with it.
Right. And that folder contains things like their inventory ledger, what's in their vehicle.
Everything.
Right.
Everything
their orders.
To keep them in compliance with the regulations, the state license, all that.
And at what point would the police officer seize their assets? Is that possible?
Oh, absolutely. They could do it right then and there.
The cop could go, look at everything, it looks fake. And that, then they could do that. Then we have to go to court and prove that it's not fake.
So they get pulled over. They need to show like their inventory ledger, what orders are dispatched to them, and things like that. Is it enough if they have it on a digital, or they need like physical printed versions of this as well?
It's either one. Everything. There's so much going digital now that there's so much software that tracks all that stuff that you can have it on an iPad.
And even showing this to the police officer, can the police officer decide to just seize their assets right then and there?
Yes.
Yep.
He can do whatever he wants. We never preach the script or anything like that is going to prevent you from getting arrested. It's going to help you if you get arrested in a lot of different ways. But the cops can do anything they ultimately want to at that time.
Okay.
Whether they should or shouldn't isn't the issue.
And that's why it's important to do what we say, be polite, calm, and let
shut
them
the fuck up.
let them be the aggressor.
And if they want to arrest you, then they're going to arrest you.
Right. But it's not just unlicensed businesses these days that
Correct.
are having to deal with this, right?
everybody.
Correct.
And what comes in the aftermath of that? They seize the assets, and how do you, like, what do you have to do? Where do you have to go to get that stuff back?
Well, it depends. It depends how it's all done and what entity ends up with the assets that they seized, whether it's a state agency or a federal agency. But the bottom line is really in the situation we're talking about, if they are in actual compliance and they've done everything right, or maybe the guy wasn't wearing his badge, or there's a little, screw up somewhere, then we're going to have a very, very good chance that that case is going to be dismissed, and probably going to have to deal with, which should have been in the first place, the Bureau of Cannabis Control and an administrative action. Hey, because that's usually what happens with anybody who has a business license. If you screw up or do something, the governing board for that license is, is going to have some type of hearing or something, But we're not seeing that yet. We're seeing threats of it, I think, by the BCC and fines and stuff. But the cops should be like, well, here, I'm going to turn you over to the BCC instead of actually arresting. But that's what we have to do to deal with it.
And do we ever see this ending? I mean, if I'm driving around with a bunch of alcohol in my trunk, I don't think he's going to start seizing my assets,
Nope.
right? So,
Well, it depends what you have in your trunk. I think it would depend on the amount, but until the feds take it off the Schedule I list, they're going to do it as long as they can. Because right now they're missing out on a lot of revenue.
Yeah, make some money.
So on the topic of licensed versus unlicensed, many people look at the unlicensed industry as kind of like a hindrance on the legal and licensed industry.
It is. I mean, it absolutely is. Whose fault is that? I point my finger at the government. When you only have less than 20% of the cities in the state of California, which is huge, allowing for retail shops, that leaves vast areas of what we're calling marijuana deserts, where there's no access. And I mean, that's the problem. That's why there's so many illegal shops, because there's...
Well, and the insistence of no meaningful road to do an easy transition for the people who were operating properly before in the collective cooperative scheme, and then now coming into the regulated market. First, we have to tell people, you have to shut down. You have to shut down your business, and then do this and get property over here, and then go through this 1 to 2 year process. And it's like, well, how do I make money if I'm shutting down my business? Why can't they figure a way to let them operate and transition into it? I mean...
Well, it's because just too little cities allow it. That's period. End of story. The problem.
Right.
If every city that had an illegal store decided to grandfather them in and say, we're going to regulate you now, the illegal market would just vanish. Period. It's not going to vanish no matter what they do, no matter how much law enforcement ramps up, no matter what. It's going to stay 3 times as big as the legal market. And hurt the legal market because, they can buy at half the price at an illegal store.
So your stance is, one, yes, it's obviously a hindrance. 2, you could feel for the legal market guys, but you could also feel for the unlicensed guys because the state of California hasn't given them a clear path to get licensing.
Correct.
Got it.
Affordable, yeah.
And yeah, even from a consumer perspective, right? I think they're almost going against the licensed businesses. As they're making it so hard for a consumer to even want to buy from a licensed business. In my opinion, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, that has to do with the taxes.
Yeah.
That's with the taxes, the regulatory fees. I mean, what other business, when you're applying for a license at the state level, this is not even talking about the city level on what fees you have to pay the city, because you have to get a city permit before you can even go to the state. So you've put who knows how much into the city process, and fees can range from 5 to 50 grand for your application fee, non-refundable. And then at the state level, you have your annual license fees. Your annual license fees. So once you apply at the state level and the state says, okay, you're good to go, you have 30 days to pay your annual license fee. What other business bases an annual license fee on your projected gross income for the next year? So you have to guess at your projected gross. And then it's a scaling. 0 to 500,000 is $1,200. 501 to $1 million is $5,000, and then it goes so far, keeps going down up to like $120,000. So you have to guess how much you're going to sell, what your gross is, and then pay this. Let's say you pay a $7,500 licensing fee. Then you sell more. Oh my God. And now you have to pay 3 levels down or above you. So now you should have paid 20 grand instead of 7,500. So not only do you have to pay the difference in the 75 and the 20 grand, you got to pay 50% penalty on the 20 grand because you underestimated. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg on how hard it is on the regulated market.
That's
and how much, and they're paying taxes. There's a thing called the 280E at the government level, at the federal level, where we don't care what you're doing. We've never had a client get busted by the feds because they filed the 280E. It's Al Capone, thank him for it. It's income. We don't care where you got it. Just show us you got the income. And if it's something illegal, file this form, and all you can deduct is your cost of goods, as opposed to you can't deduct the chairs, the paper clips, your salary for your staff. You can't deduct any of that. So you're getting taxed at the federal level. I mean, and then at the consumer level, you're paying an effective with your cultivation taxes, distribution taxes, excise tax at the register. You could be paying effective upwards of 40-something% tax from when that thing started off on the bottom. It's just, I mean, I've been preaching for this whole time, like, government, they're just idiots. And there's been bills on the table to reduce the 15 to 11%, put the cannabis, the cultivation tax in abeyance for a few years, and they're just idiots. If they would open up the market to more stores, lower the tax, black market would be gone, and we'd have 15 times the amount of sales in the state of California.
Yeah, it seems like it's not good for anybody, right? Like California's not hitting their tax estimates, right? The licensed market is suffering. The unlicensed market is
thriving,
but now all the laws are against them.
And the money
right?
that's coming in
it
is
doesn't
going
matter,
out to
this is the reality of it. This is the truth. That all of the illegal stores, probably I would say 90%, 95%, there is no way to get at the person who runs that store. It's the people who work at that store that are the ones that we're going to end up representing. And they're the ones who have making $10 an hour or whatever they're making. And they're the ones who are getting screwed. The other ones have been doing this for 25 years. Whack-a-mole. Shut down here, pop up there. Shut down there, pop up here. They're making some bank, and I don't judge. I mean, we know people in the industry for like 25 years, and some of them are going to do it till they can't. They're going to do it till they can't do it anymore. And it doesn't look like that's coming anytime soon. Government's got to open it up, reduce taxes, entry fees, and all that stuff, and I don't see that happening.
And for the consumers too, it's also it sucks for them because now they're getting unlicensed product, and we have this whole.
as far as cannabis, as far as flower is concerned, now the vapes and all the stuff that are man-made, to me that's different.
There's a whole epidemic.
Once man's hand changes the molecular structure, like with the vape pens, you got to distill it and you got to mix this and mix that. I mean, there you go. Now you have a problem that's not THC or even nicotine related. It's the additives and how they're making these things and the cartridges, whether they leak. But yeah, it's the vape cartridges are bad.
Yeah.
Unless they're sourced right, unless they're,
they're good.
It's the knockoff ones that are cheap. It's the cartridges that get filled that are cheap, and they can leave a licensed laboratory with a certificate of analysis saying it's clean, but once
The cannabis is clean.
right,
Or the product
right.
inside it is
So
clean.
even licensed products can leave clean, and if it's sitting on the shelf for too long, the metals and stuff in cheap cartridges could potentially
Seep in there.
taint the product.
So there needs to be regulations testing the metals.
No, testing the cartridges.
So we actually interviewed Aaron from CannaSafe. I believe it was our last video. So he told me they test the oil, like when it's just oil, and then they actually test it when it's in the cartridge. And so we were going, back and forth about how it actually sometimes does fail testing after it has been put in a cartridge because of the cheap cartridges. Yeah. But maybe not just the illicit market, but nicotine and
That's
that
huge.
whole thing, right?
They're mainly mentioning nicotine all over the news. It's more nicotine related on the actual national news. They're saying it's the nicotine products that are.
It's weird. The nicotine guys are blaming the THC guys. The THC guys are blaming the illicit market. Illicit market's blaming the nicotine guys.
What I think happened was with the proliferation of the legal cannabis market, there's that many more units on the market. There's that many more units that now people are exposed to more units of these crappy cartridges. Or whatever, however, or the distillate that they put the vitamin E in it, and then I guess when you smoke it, I just read this yesterday, I believe, then you smoke it and it sticks to your lungs because it makes it gooey or something like that. I mean, that's got nothing to do with cannabis. That's someone putting something bad in the product.
Right, I read that as well. And I read another article that actually, I think it was one of the 2 deaths in Oregon. It was led to a licensed retailer. So who knows what's really going on? I mean, at the end of the day. But,
it could, like I said, it wasn't, you can't give weed a bad name. It's a man-made product. It's a man-made product. You don't just suck oil out of the ground and go smoke it. It's a man put their hands on it.
Maybe we should.
And once man puts their hands on it, then God knows what it consists of. Right. But when you get that flower out of the ground and you smoke it, you're pretty safe.
Yeah, so let's stop blaming the plant, start blaming the devices.
The device, correct.
Device.
So ultimately, what do you think the state could do to fix this?
God, I don't know. People, I don't know how they can crack down on it. People will buy this stuff all day long. That's, if it's tied to a licensed retailer, the retailer's going to have a recall. At least in California. We don't do any other state laws, just California.
Well, and then there'll be recourse too, products liability and recourse. You get it from an illegal place and you get injured, sick, or die. There's no lawsuit. You're not getting anything back. But
and they're not regulated. So as far as the regulation and testing of the vape pens, I'm 100% behind. Even though that still might not be foolproof, because we had a testing client ask us for some kind of release paperwork they could have the retailer sign, which really didn't work out because they know that it could be excellent when it leaves the lab, but when it gets on the shelf for a month, it's going to turn up something different. And then they're going to go after the testing lab. Well, wait a minute. You tested it and you said it was good, now it's bad? It's because of the cartridges.
But as far as actual licensing and regulations go on that end, you just think more states need to open up? More cities need to open up. Counties, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. How is it looking in Orange County currently?
It's a vast desert.
Two cities.
Santa Ana is the only city in Orange County that allows the entire supply string, from cultivation, manufacture, distribution, retail. Costa Mesa allows testing, manufacturing, and I think distribution. Other than those 2 cities, it's all banned.
That's it.
We get people all the time coming in, hey, I want to open up something in Anaheim or Garden Grove. Well, it's not legal. What do you mean? There's 10 stores. You want to be a gangster? Go open one up. We don't recommend it, but, that's what they're doing. So,
are there any delivery services operating in the state? Licensed delivery services?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of licensed delivery services.
Okay, and they're just coming in from, in the county is what I meant. So, in Orange County, are they coming in from other cities?
Yes, they have to.
Okay.
Unless they're based out of Santa Ana, because in Santa Ana, I believe, in order to have a delivery, you have to have the storefront, and that's where the storefronts are. So they probably have their own delivery services out of those stores. But when the regulations came down, the permanent regulations, it clarified ambiguity that allows delivery services that are licensed, period, to go into any city and deliver, even if that city has a ban on businesses being in their city.
In my opinion, that's the saving grace. I feel like that could be, that could help patients get their medicine.
Well, yeah, that was the big push. That was
Right.
one of the big pushes why when they decided to interpret a section of Prop 64, which said law enforcement can't stop people who are licensed going through their city. That's how it was initially drafted. And how's that? I mean, does that mean
You can just
you can
pass
just
through?
pass through? So, but in the final regulations, they made it clear that as long as you're licensed to have a licensed premise, city and state license, you can go and deliver to any city in the state. So hopefully that opened up access to a lot of people who, have
Some cities are still fighting that, though, right?
Yeah.
Right,
There's
but
a
news
lawsuit.
newsflash to those cities, right? Like, you're not just banning deliveries. If you ban deliveries, you're just banning the licensed deliveries. Right?
No, they're banning a business starting up in their city. They have a ban that no businesses can be in
Yeah,
their
but
city
even
operating.
the people that don't want deliveries coming into their city.
They're too bad.
Right.
Under the regulations as they exist now, it's too bad.
So we talked a lot about all the negative stuff about regulations, and I'm sure there's a lot. I'm sure we could go on probably for another 40 minutes talking about that. But how about we shed some light on some of the more positive stuff that is actually happening in the regulations? So for one, the social equity movement. What do you guys think about that?
Can I say?
That's in Los Angeles we're talking
Well,
about.
there's Los Angeles.
Right.
I
Oakland.
know very well Los Angeles. I'm knee deep in Los Angeles social equity. Oakland, San Francisco. I think Sacramento has one. We have no idea. But in LA, we can just one big clusterfuck. The intentions are great. There's a lot of people who, if you invest in a business, you get priority as a non-social equity applicant, and there's predatory practices going on with taking advantage of people who were either hit hard by living in an area disproportionately impacted, or whether they have a marijuana crime, low income, and they're getting taken advantage of left and right by people with money. Now, there are some good stories coming out of it. I represent quite a few social equity applicants that businesses have come in, played by the right rules, and there's a really good synergistic relationship between the social equity applicant and the guy coming in into funding. But on an overall, I mean, we just had phase 2, round 1 of phase 2 in LA kick in, and I had all my clients online at 10. The portal opened at 10 o'clock. So at 10 o'clock on the 2nd, over 800 people filed. The first 100 was first come, first served. So at 10 o'clock on the dot, I had clients logging in, uploading. They made it really simple. I had one client do it in like 75 seconds. Other client took a minute. And how their numerical order of 1 to 100, no one knows, because there's application numbers that are generated that people thought, oh, I've got 310081, I got 3100322, or and ends up a week later that they confirm that that's not the order. You're not 82nd in line. It was a number that was generated by the computer. There's this timestamp, supposedly somewhere on the documents, which you can't see, that's going to determine who was first, second, third, up to 100. And they're currently going through all those applications now to make sure everybody has A through Z, whatever they wanted, and then they're going to determine the first 100.
Do you think there's a right or better way to do the social equity thing? Like, what would you change if you were making the laws?
That's a good one. That's actually a good question. I'm not so sure there is a perfect way to do it. You have to incentivize the people coming in with the money, who are giving the money to the people who don't have money. Now there's got to be a balance there, because no one's going to want to come in and give someone, like in LA. If you're a tier 1 social equity applicant, you need to have 51% of a joint venture. So if someone comes in and wants to join up with a social equity applicant to get into the game now, like right now, otherwise only social equity applicants could apply for retail in this first phase. No one else could apply unless you were in a joint venture with a social equity applicant. So I get a lot of people coming going, well, he gets 51%? I'm putting in all the money and da. Well, yeah, but he also has a criminal record. Hopefully it's expunged by now, but went through, could be prison, jail, arrest, conviction, all this other stuff. So where do you weigh that out? I mean, and then people are trying to get around with 51% by playing with numbers and playing with doing other things on the back end, and it just gets a little hinky. So how to do it the right way, that's a conversation for another time. I could probably go on for hours on potentially how to do it, but it's just too complicated.
And do you think it's at least a step in the right direction, the way we're headed for the future of cannabis in California? Or what do you see as like red flags that the city's currently doing that they should probably stop doing?
Are you referencing social equity or just overall?
Just in general, social equity included.
I mean, the cities that are attempting social equity, I know I applaud them for at least doing, attempting. It's very difficult. And how to control it's very difficult. I think the DCR is attempting to control it by reviewing documents to make sure there isn't anything predatory in the documents in order to control that. Overall, though, I think the cities that are allowing it are charging too much application fees. They want also 5-6% of your gross under a development agreement. If the city has not voted on a tax has to be voted on by people of the city. And if there's no city tax, they can do a development agreement and charge 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% of your gross. Imagine that. And then you got to pay all this other fees. I mean, we tell people when they come in, you sure you want to do this? We probably turn away more. We could probably take in more money and go, yeah, this is great. We'll get you started. And then they realize, wait a minute.
I can't finish.
Don't have enough money to finish. Or once they finish, it isn't what they thought it was going to be. So all that's got to change, and I don't see that happening. I don't see the government, they're not saying uncle. They should be going like, put your arm behind your back, say uncle. They're not. They're just being stubborn. They're being stubborn about not lowering the taxes, not lowering the taxes on cultivation, not lowering the annual license fees, or at least, some type of effort to not charge someone 120 grand in advance on a guesstimate of your profits. So, I mean, I think a lot could be done to change all that, but I don't necessarily see that happening unless your generation gets out and votes. Find those candidates who are going to implement that stuff, as opposed to the old school who are dragging their feet.
Well, I guess only time will tell, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any last points that you wanted to make before we conclude the interview?
Shut the fuck up when cops ask questions.
Yeah, we'll do the script real quick.
Yeah, we'll run it down. So, all right. So when you get pulled over, big brother, what do you say when the cop first comes up?
Why'd you pull me over?
And when he starts asking you questions?
I'm not discussing my day or evening, sir.
And he keeps asking more questions?
Politely, I'm not discussing my day.
And what if he asks even more questions and gets in your face?
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
And if detained, what do you say?
I invoke the fifth, officer.
And then what do you do?
I shut the fuck up. You should shut the fuck up too.
Shut the fuck up.
That's right.
It just feels good.
Yes.
And remember, you shut the fuck up. You don't say shut the fuck up.
To the cop.
Because that's a big no-no.
No. That's a big
And
no.
don't lie.
That's right.
Another one that we
Stick
learned
to
here
Not
the
today.
discussing my
Yeah.
day. That's the best. That was like a light bulb that went off on how. What do you do? You don't want to lie. You don't want to tell the truth. If you had a drink or two, if you
What do you
smoked in
say?
general, I'm not discussing my day. They can't argue with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much
Our
for joining
pleasure.
me
Thank
today.
you.
Our
I learned
pleasure.
a lot myself. I'm sure the viewers definitely learned a lot as well. Go ahead, just look into the camera if there's anything you want to plug, social media, your websites, anything. Just let them know.
All right, so
Clutter.
you can follow us on all social media outlets, Pop Brothers at Law. On Instagram, it's POT_at POT_
Just an
brothers
underscore in between every word.
@_law_. And then we have our website, popbrothersatlawcom. If you want to contact us, 855-WAS-LAW. We are attorneys in California. We handle cases all over California. We do have associates in parts of California, and we also have attorneys in some states that we can help vet out and find and we refer to. So if you need help in other states, we might be able to help you out. You can also catch our radio show every week, Wednesday, 6 p.m., Cannabis Talk 101. Go to cannabistalk101.com and KOCIradio.com, 101.5 FM, and you can learn a lot.
Awesome. And as usual, thank you guys for watching another episode of Connecting Cannabis. Just check out webjoint.com, put in your email for the newsletter sign up, and you'll get more of these episodes as they come out week by week. Until next time.